The journey to this point in my life has been both extensive and fraught with challenges. Growing up in a modest household, I was taught from an early age the profound significance of perseverance and resilience. My parents, through their unwavering dedication and tireless efforts, strived to provide for our family, often working long hours to ensure that my siblings and I had our basic needs met. This environment instilled in me an unrelenting determination to succeed, even in the face of adversity. Although my childhood was marked by various hardships, it was also filled with warmth and love, imparting invaluable lessons that have significantly shaped my character and outlook on life. Following the completion of my education, I entered the professional realm with a sense of optimism and ambition that fueled my aspirations. However, my career path has not been linear. It has been riddled with numerous setbacks and obstacles. Each challenge I faced served to fortify my resolve to continue pushing forward, regardless of the difficulties at hand. Throughout this arduous journey, I had the fortune of meeting Sheila, who became an integral part of my life. Our relationship, while enriching, was also characterized by its own set of trials. It taught me essential lessons about love, trust, and the complexities of betrayal. The dissolution of my marriage did not provide a solution to my problems. Rather, it marked the commencement of a new series of challenges that I had to confront. This understanding emerged from the myriad difficult experiences life presented to me. As I sit in this cramped airplane seat, I find myself engaged in reflection. Although I perceive a sense of wisdom that comes with my life experiences, the reality is that I am feeling profoundly shattered. My confidence is in tatters, my health is deteriorating, and my faith in the fairness of life has all but vanished. Nevertheless, as I gaze out of the small window, I am met with breathtaking views that momentarily distract me from my troubles. In approximately 30 minutes, we anticipate landing at my temporary haven, Duke's Lodge, which I have chosen as a refuge from the turmoil I have been experiencing in my life. After dedicating 2 days to thorough internet searches, I stumbled upon Duke's Lodge, which appeared to be the ideal place to find solace. The description I encountered resonated with me deeply, especially the assertion that it was an excellent place to hide. My faith in this claim was bolstered by the fact that it was featured online. According to the information I reviewed, Duke's Lodge is perfectly situated on the edge of one of Canada's most remote yet stunning lakes, teeming with wildlife and offering some of the finest fishing opportunities in the Northwest Territories. It serves as an exceptional launching point for day fishing excursions, as well as overnight stays at one of Duke's secluded cabins. For those less inclined toward adventure, nature's beauty awaits just a short walk from the lodge. With a bit of luck, one might even encounter Canadian geese, black bears, beavers, and moose. Duke's Lodge boasts 4 furnished rooms within the lodge itself and 6 fully equipped cabins, which are ideal for those wishing to retreat from the demands of civilization and the stresses of modern life. The cabins, designed to accommodate 2 individuals, feature 1 bedroom with either a double bed or 2 single beds. Additionally, 2 rooms within the lodge can comfortably sleep for guests. The lodge also presents a perfect setting for those seeking an escape from personal crises, with meal packages and long-term rental options available upon request. Reservations and travel arrangements can be made by contacting Duke Wayne directly. The alluring description of Duke's Lodge prompted me to make an immediate phone call after reading it. Now, as I sit aboard a small float plane that departed from Yellowknife an hour ago, I am jostled about as we proceed over snow-capped peaks en route to that idyllic lake, which will serve as my sanctuary for the coming months. This marks my first experience riding in a float plane, and I find it somewhat unsettling. The aircraft accommodates only 8 seats, including 1 for the pilot, while most of the rear space is occupied by boxes. I am the sole passenger, and the blaring noise from the propellers renders it impossible to engage in anything other than gazing out of the small window. I would welcome the opportunity to sleep and gain a temporary respite from my emotional suffering, yet I recognize that such a luxury is simply not feasible at this moment. Instead, I should be absorbing the picturesque view from 15,000 feet. However, my mind is preoccupied with revisiting the events that have led me to this pivotal flight. Until a month ago, I was married to one of the most stunning women in our small Pennsylvania town of Henley. Her name was Sheila, and she hailed from the affluent side of town, while I grew up on the working class side. My father was employed in a factory, whereas her father was the proprietor of that same factory. Despite our contrasting backgrounds, we wed, marking my transition from one side of the tracks to the other 5 years ago. 2 years ago, we welcomed a daughter, Sarah, who is the embodiment of beauty and love. She is a source of pure joy and my reason for living. Each time I look at her, I express gratitude for the blessings that I have received. Both Sheila and I were employed by her father's company, Bloom Enterprises. I served as an accountant, while Sheila took on the role of customer relations assistant. Her father, Ezekiel Bloom, was a prominent figure in Pennsylvania, known as the wealthiest man in the area and a formidable presence in our lives. He was on his 4th marriage to a woman named Jennifer, a stunning trophy wife. Like many couples, Sheila and I encountered our challenges, but fate had greater trials in store for us. Sheila and I experienced a series of fluctuations in our relationship, characterized by both highs and lows. Despite facing various challenges throughout our time together, we typically managed to navigate our difficulties without encountering any significant obstacles. However, 3 months ago, my life underwent a dramatic transformation when I discovered the shocking truth regarding my daughter, Sarah. She is not my biological child. Sarah refers to me as Dada, and I lovingly call her my little angel, yet a DNA test revealed this unforeseen reality. In a fit of frustration, I cursed that test, grappling with the question of why I had chosen to undergo it in the first place. My primary motivation had been to safeguard my little princess's well-being. While I awaited Sarah's annual checkup, I came across an article discussing the benefits of DNA testing, particularly how it can provide families with an accurate medical history for their children. Given the tragic circumstances surrounding my sister's death due to a congenital heart defect, I felt compelled to ensure that Sarah was not at risk of inheriting any genetic disorders. I made the decision not to disclose the existence of the test to Sheila. The situation became even more complex when I realized there was no straightforward way to identify Sarah's biological father, largely due to the overwhelming influence of Mr. Bloom, who exerted considerable control over our town. In an effort to uncover the truth, I reached out to a college friend, who now worked as a private investigator in Washington, D.C. He conducted an investigation and unearthed the disheartening information that Sheila had been involved with another man prior to our marriage. Armed with this evidence, I felt compelled to confront Sheila, which ultimately led me to file for divorce. This decision marked the beginning of a downward spiral, as the situation swiftly deteriorated. Sheila vehemently denied the claims, and her father threw his support behind her, creating an environment where I was left to fight my battle alone. The divorce proceedings were fraught with difficulties, particularly because my out-of-town attorney seemed to be outmatched by Sheila's legal team. Despite presenting what I believed to be solid evidence, the judge ruled in Sheila's favor, leading to a grim outcome. I was ordered to pay child support for Sarah, lost the family home, and faced severely limited visitation rights, restricted to 1 supervised weekend per month. The ramifications of this ruling were catastrophic. I found myself not only estranged from Sarah but also grappling with the loss of my job, friends, and faith in the judicial system. My mental health deteriorated sharply, exacerbated by the anguish of being unable to spend time with the one person I loved most in the world, Sarah. In the midst of this turmoil, Sheila's father managed to strip away my most cherished possession, my relationship with Sarah. Sheila herself was largely absent during the hearings, leaving me to confront the challenges with only my attorney against the formidable presence of Ezekiel Bloom and his legal representatives. I felt as though I had been left with nothing, and as I prepared to leave the town that had become a symbol of my loss, an unexpected event occurred. The Bloom factory mysteriously burned to the ground. I want to clarify that I had no involvement in the fire, although I did bring marshmallows for a camping trip, which may seem ironic in retrospect. Now, I find myself aboard a noisy float plane, en route to a temporary refuge where I hope to find some sense of solace. Upon arrival, I stepped onto a rickety dock and surveyed the lodge before me. It was not what I had anticipated. As I expressed my surprise, the pilot unloading boxes replied, "Yes, a lot of people say that when they arrive. It might grow on you." While the surrounding lake and mountains were undeniably beautiful, the lodge appeared far less grandiose than the descriptions I had encountered. It resembled an old log cabin with a dirt path leading up to the porch. I picked up my bags and started along the dirt path, reflecting on the fact that I should have taken the time to read the reviews more carefully. As I entered the lodge, a deep, gravelly voice emanated from beneath the counter, inquiring if I needed assistance. I responded affirmatively, introducing myself. "My name is Leo Baker, and I have a reservation for one of your cabins." The lanky, silver-haired man stood up to greet me. "Ah, Mr. Baker, I have been expecting you," he said. "My name is Duke Wayne, and I own this establishment." "Yes, my name really is Duke Wayne. My parents were great fans of John Wayne. I may not have the swagger, but I do have a bit of a limp." Duke continued, "Your registration indicated that you are seeking a long-term stay, perhaps to escape from marital troubles. That is perfectly acceptable, provided you aren't hiding from the law." I assured him that it was merely a domestic issue and that I preferred to remain undiscovered for a while. I inquired about the cabin I had reserved and expressed my interest in negotiating a long-term rental. Duke informed me, "We close for the winter in October, but you are welcome to stay until then. The cabins are situated up the road on the other side of the hill, which is quite a trek, especially with your luggage this time of year. You will have only one neighbor. Breakfast is served at 8 a.m., and we can discuss dinner arrangements then. Should you need anything, please check the bulletin board or ring the bell located on the front porch." He handed me the key to cabin number 2, claiming it had the best view. I inquired about phone and cell service, only to learn that due to its remote location, there was none available. Duke explained, "We do have a radio for emergencies or ordering supplies, and you can make a call through it if necessary." Stepping onto the small front porch, I gazed out toward the lake, a breathtaking sight that could hardly be understated. The expansive body of water lay before me, entirely visible and surrounded by lush greenery that framed the scene with an almost surreal beauty. The sunlight danced upon the surface of the lake, causing it to sparkle as if strewn with diamonds. Towering snow-capped mountains encircled this azure blue jewel, creating an immense natural bowl that seemed to cradle the lake in its embrace. The stark contrast of the vibrant greens against the vivid blue of the water was awe-inspiring, giving the impression that this idyllic location remained untouched by the encroachments of civilization. It was an unbelievable sight, one that stirred both wonder and tranquility within me. As I absorbed the scenery, I heard a voice emerge from the nearby trees, affirming the extraordinary beauty of the landscape. Unbelievable, yes, isn't it? I turned to see a woman approaching. She possessed a captivating presence, characterized by a petite stature and slender build. Her dark hair, neatly secured in a ponytail, added to her allure, while her attire consisted of comfortable jeans paired with a red flannel shirt and oversized boots. She was carrying a pail of water, her movements graceful and deliberate. The richness of her skin, reminiscent of warm cocoa, contrasted beautifully with her dark eyes, which twinkled with a friendly warmth. Her smile was sweet and inviting, suggesting a vitality that seemed to reverberate with the surrounding nature. She looked as though she had stepped out of a tourism advertisement promoting the beauty of Mexico, albeit without the traditional sombrero. "Hi, you must be my new neighbor. I'm Annabella Williams. I'm in cabin 1 just through the trees," she introduced herself with genuine enthusiasm. "Duke told me someone would be arriving today. I've only been here a week, so if you have any questions, I might not know the answers." I reciprocated her warm introduction. "Hi, yes, I'm in cabin 2. My name is Leo Baker. It's nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you, Leo. Are you staying long?" Annabella inquired, revealing an evident curiosity about my intentions for the summer. "Yes, I think I'll be here all summer. How about you?" I returned her question, eager to learn more about her. "I'm not sure yet, for a while, I guess. I just don't know," she admitted, her tone tinged with uncertainty. "What brings you here?" I probed, noting the absence of any fishing gear, which led me to believe that fishing might not be the primary reason for her visit. "I'm here to get away from things at home. It's rough back there right now, and I needed to think." "What about you?" Annabella explained, sharing a glimpse into her motivations and life circumstances. I nodded in understanding, acknowledging that we shared similar reasons for seeking refuge in this tranquil setting. "Nice meeting you, Annabella. See you at breakfast," I concluded, sensing that our conversation had reached its natural end. "Okay, bye," she replied as she turned to leave. I couldn't help but admire her as she walked away, her figure gracefully disappearing among the trees. It had been a long time since I had considered another woman in such a light, especially since my relationship with Sheila had come to an end. Perhaps I was allowed to entertain such thoughts now that I was on the verge of being single again. As I watched her blend into the woodland, a fleeting thought struck me. I had never truly believed in love at first sight, however, I had encountered moments of lust at first sight before during my college years. This feeling was different. It transcended mere physical attraction. Her demeanor was calming, and I sensed a certain familiarity that I found comforting. Perhaps getting to know her better was the very reason I had come to this place. Breakfast proved to be basic, consisting of eggs, sausage, toast, orange juice, and coffee, a simple meal that I could easily survive on as long as I was not required to cook. Across the dining area, the other 2 lodgers appeared to be avid fishermen, dressed in vests adorned with an array of fishing flies. Strangely, I had not seen Annabella that morning, prompting me to consider asking Duke about her whereabouts. "Hey Duke, where's the young lady near my cabin?" I inquired. "She ate early and went to work. She sits on a bench past your cabin, watching birds," Duke replied. "She doesn't want to be around people much. Something's bothering her, but she won't talk to me. Maybe you can get her to open up." "I've got my own problems, I can't take on anyone else's." "There's no room in my head," I responded, feeling the weight of my own burdens. "Well, do what you want, but if I were younger, I'd try. She's the prettiest woman here since my Louisa died," Duke reflected, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "Thanks, Duke. I'll consider it. For now, I'll head back to my cabin and sleep." "See you at dinner," I replied, needing to rest and recover. It had not been my intention to sleep the day away, but the stress of my recent life had taken its toll. I felt a surge of resentment toward my ex and her family and wondered if I had already missed dinner. A gentle knock interrupted my thoughts. Annabella's voice came through the screen door. "Hello, Mr. Baker." "Hi, just getting up. I guess the mountains made me sleepy." "How are you?" I responded, shaking off the remnants of sleep. "I'm fine. I made soup and wondered if you would join me." "It's..." As she carried a pail of water, her walk was imbued with an elegance that captured attention. Her fitted jeans complemented her figure, enhancing the graceful sway of her ponytail with each step. "Unbelievable," she remarked, casually reflecting on the passage of time. "An hour so 50 minutes should be fine." Just yesterday, I had found myself in the small town of Noville, Pennsylvania, and now, here I was in Canada, sharing a moment with a beautiful woman for the first time in months. There was an undeniable lightness that came with this shift in scenery. Life, at that moment, felt undeniably good. With an air of familiarity, I approached her door and announced, "Knock knock, hello neighbor." Annabella answered, a hint of playful reproach in her tone. "Mr. Baker, you're early. You should know better than to arrive early at a woman's place." "I'm not ready yet, give me a few minutes." Her teasing demeanor only added to the charm of the encounter. I offered a light-hearted response, suggesting, "I can go away if you like." Yet her retort was immediate, "No, just sit on the porch and enjoy the view. It's not as nice as yours, but still spectacular." "Call me Leo," she added with a smile, her eyes inviting me to relax. I took a seat on the porch, absorbing the beauty of the surroundings. The mountains across the lake appeared deceptively close, hinting at a journey that would require a day's walk to reach. The profound silence was punctuated only by the gentle rustling of leaves, while the air was infused with the fragrant scent of pine and the tantalizing aromas wafting from Annabella's kitchen. Moments later, Annabella's voice floated through the doorway, "Okay, Leo, soup's on. I hope you like it." She emerged, dressed impeccably for dinner, in a light blue blouse and dark blue slacks that suited her perfectly. While I remained in jeans and a sports shirt, her sandals and cascading hair added to her undeniable allure. "Hey Leo, wake up. Here's your soup," she called out, pulling me from my reverie. "Oops, sorry, I was distracted by the view," I admitted, slightly embarrassed. "Flatterer," she replied playfully, handing me a bowl. "Here, eat it. It's not fancy, but it's edible. All I have to drink is water, is that okay?" "Fine, soup and conversation go well with water," I replied, feeling grateful for her company. The hour we spent savoring her delicious soup turned into a gentle exchange of our life stories. I spoke of Pennsylvania while she shared her experiences from Texas. I explained my situation as an unemployed accountant and she revealed that she, too, was not currently working. I mentioned my daughter Sarah while she noted she had no children. Though our discussion skimmed the surface, it represented a meaningful beginning. "Leo, why are you here? You don't seem like a fisherman. This place is very remote. Are you here to get away from something?" Annabella inquired, her curiosity evident. "It's a long and painful story. I don't want to talk about it right now, maybe later," I replied, seeking to deflect the subject. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry," she said, her voice tinged with regret. "That's okay. How about you?" I redirected the conversation to her. "Same thing, a long story I'm not ready to share," Annabella responded. She gestured toward my cabin. "You have a better view from your cabin. Maybe next time we can eat there." "I'd like that. Thanks for dinner, your soup was great." "It's amazing what you made with that small burner," I complimented, genuinely appreciative. "Well, I should go." "Will I see you at breakfast?" she asked, preparing to take her leave. "Of course. Have a good night, Leo," she said with a smile as she stepped out the door. I then made my way back to my cabin, watching the sunset paint the sky over the mountains in breathtaking colors. The scene was truly stunning, with the soothing sounds of nature enveloping me. This moment felt like a taste of paradise. Typically, I do not let my food grow cold, however, the time spent across from Annabella made each minute seem to stretch luxuriously. Breakfast was a simple affair of eggs, sausage, toast, tomato juice, and coffee, yet the pleasure of her company transformed the ordinary into something truly special. I signaled for Duke, who refilled our coffee, and he inquired, "I'm taking the others out on the lake, will you two be okay here?" I glanced at Annabella and replied, "We'll be fine. Maybe we'll take that nature walk from the website." As we walked back to our cabins, Annabella remarked, "Leo, that nature walk is just the path from the dock to the cabins. Pretty, wasn't it?" "Perhaps this place is less than what I read online," I said, amused by her humor. "What are your plans today?" I inquired, eager to know more about her. Nothing much. I usually sit on the bench on the hill or the dock and watch the birds. When the seaplane arrives, I help Duke unload supplies. He never asks for help, but I do what I can. He's giving me a break on rent because I can't afford much. Duke is 76 years old and has been alone since his wife passed away 2 decades ago, Annabella shared, offering a glimpse into her life. Duke sounds like quite a character. Sitting. With an exaggerated and playful gesture, she executed a mock courtesy, a whimsical display that lightened the mood as we began our stroll toward the lake. Upon reaching our destination, we discovered a pair of weathered rocking chairs, their faded wood telling stories of countless serene moments spent in nature. We settled into these chairs, the rhythmic creaking accompanying our silence as we absorbed the tranquil view before us. The beauty of the scene, with its gentle ripples and vibrant reflections, seemed to envelop us in a cocoon of calm. However, I soon noticed Annabella's demeanor shift, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Concerned, I turned to her and asked gently, "What's wrong?" She replied softly, "Nothing," while wiping her tears away, but the slight tremor in her voice betrayed her true feelings. Instinctively, I sensed that there was indeed something troubling her. "Now I know something's wrong," I insisted, my concern deepening. "Did I say something? What can I do?" I pressed gently, trying to encourage her to share her burdens. "I'm sorry," Annabella said, her voice tinged with conflict. "I have a lot on my mind, and I don't want to burden you with my problems. You're here with your own worries." The sincerity in her tone resonated with me, reflecting a struggle to articulate her feelings. Memories of a preacher from my childhood surfaced, his words echoing the idea that sharing one's troubles could alleviate the weight of sorrow. "If you want to talk, I'll listen," I offered sincerely. "You can't give me more problems than I already have. Maybe I can help." Her eyes softened at my response. "That's kind of you. I want to talk, but it's complicated, personal, and embarrassing. You're a stranger, how can I share my problems with you?" Annabella seemed caught in a web of hesitation and vulnerability. In a bid to bridge the gap between us, I suggested, "Let's trade stories. I'll tell you something about myself, and then you can share something about you. We can take it slow. I'll be an open book if you're willing to listen. I won't judge you, I'll simply be here to listen." "Okay, but you go first," she agreed cautiously, a hint of curiosity stirring within her. "Where to start?" I pondered for a moment, contemplating the most relevant details to share. "Usually, the beginning is best," I concluded. "Okay, here goes. I was born and raised in Henley, Pennsylvania, on the working-class side of town. My father worked tirelessly in a factory, while my mother devoted herself to being a stay-at-home mom. I have an older brother and sister who now live in different parts of the country, each carving their own path. After earning my master's degree in finance from Penn State, I returned home because my dad suffered a heart attack, and my mom needed assistance. As I spoke, I continued, it was during this time that I met and married a remarkable woman named Sheila, who hailed from the upper-class side of town. Her father owned the factory where my dad worked, as well as several other businesses. I found employment as an accountant at her father's company, where Sheila was also employed as his assistant. 2 years ago, we welcomed our daughter into the world, and I reveled in the joys of fatherhood. However, my world shattered when I discovered that I was not her biological father. Sheila had been involved with another man before our marriage, and he was Sarah's real father. The pain of those memories resurfaced as I recounted. The revelation devastated our marriage, leading to a painful unraveling. I had documented evidence of her infidelity, and my heart became set on filing for divorce and seeking custody of Sarah. I didn't care that she wasn't my biological daughter. I loved her deeply and wanted to raise her as my own. Yet, Sheila's father intervened, wielding his influence and resources to ensure that did not happen. He orchestrated the divorce proceedings, and I found myself stripped of everything, my job, my home, my wife, and my daughter. I now had to pay child support for Sarah while being limited to seeing her one weekend each month. The overwhelming weight of those losses drove me to leave town, to seek solace and a fresh start, which is why I find myself here. Annabella's eyes widened with empathy as I shared my story. "Did you talk to your wife after filing for divorce?" she inquired. "No," I confessed. A restraining order prevented me from contacting Sheila or Sarah. I was terminated from my job and evicted from our home, a consequence of Sheila's father manipulating every aspect of the proceedings. Sheila never attended any hearings, everything was handled by her father and the lawyers. It left me powerless. Sensing the gravity of my tale, she asked, "If they took everything, how did you get here?" "My mother provided me with some savings to start anew." This money was originally intended to supplement their income for retirement, as my father receives a disability pension. They will manage, but not as comfortably as they had hoped. I wish to repay them for their generosity, but the uncertainty of my future weighs heavily on me, I admitted, feeling the tension and sadness creeping into my tone. Observing the shift in my mood, Annabella gently redirected the conversation. My story is similar, she began. My parents emigrated from Mexico, making their way to the United States with my older brother and sister. I was born in Plano, Texas. Unfortunately, my father left when I was 8, leaving my mother to support us by cleaning houses for a wealthy family. Her voice carried a somber. I discovered that Duke's website had been deactivated, prompting me to take drastic measures to secure my escape. I withdrew all of our savings, sold my car, and parted with my wedding ring. Everything led me to this place, where I have now been for 2 weeks, grappling with the fear that Logan might track me down. I find myself in a state of confusion, uncertain about my next steps or where I can go to find safety. Staying with my sister crosses my mind, yet I worry that Logan would be able to locate me there too. It is imperative for me to resolve my thoughts and feelings before making any further moves. For now, all I can do is cling to hope. As I turned to Anna, I pondered how she preferred to be addressed. Would she prefer to be called Anna, or would she rather stick to her full name? Anna, we find ourselves in similar circumstances, both fleeing from toxic relationships and facing an uncertain future, I observed. I revealed that while I have some financial resources available, I am willing to help her if she needs assistance during this challenging time. However, I cautioned, she should remember that my offer is merely a gesture of goodwill. A glimmer of appreciation mixed with reluctance crossed her face as she graciously declined my offer, indicating that she did not want to impose on me. She recognized that I too have my struggles and would need to manage my own finances moving forward. Our conversation shifted as I gazed lost in thought at the serene lake before us. I noticed that Anna was also focused on the water, her tears now dried, and her mood noticeably lifted. Suddenly, a large fish leapt out of the water nearby, breaking the tranquility and evoking laughter from Anna. She playfully mentioned Duke's supposed expertise in locating the best fishing spots around the area. Our conversation took on a lighter tone, transitioning into discussions about our aspirations for the future. Anna expressed her enthusiasm for attending Penn State, while I shared my excitement about culinary school, driven by my love for food. We reminisced about our childhood dreams, pets we had loved, and friends who had come and gone. We continued to talk comfortably until the sun reached its zenith, casting a warm glow over the calm lake that perfectly mirrored the mountains in the distance. This place is truly magical, Leo, Anna remarked. I think I am going to my cabin for a nap. If you'd like, I can bring over some soup for dinner and we can continue our conversation on your porch. I genuinely enjoy your company, would that be okay? She ran her fingers delicately across my hand, sending a shiver of surprise through me. I replied, I would love that, appreciating the connection we had formed. Yes, please go ahead. I watched her walk away, captivated by the gracefulness of her movements, which left me pondering the possibilities that lay ahead. As I turned my attention back to the lake, I observed a flock of geese flying overhead, their formation graceful against the blue sky. The rhythmic sound of the rocking chair soon lulled me into a peaceful slumber. I was awakened by a gentle knock at the door. Knock, knock. Is anybody home? Anna's cheerful voice broke through. Let me help you with that, I offered as I heard her steps approaching. I quickly moved to assist her in placing the soup on the table, searching for bowls as I did so. Although I regretted that I could not offer her wine, I suggested perhaps we could procure some during our next supply run. As we sat on the porch enjoying the bowls of her delicious soup, I felt a profound sense of contentment wash over me, reminiscent of a man who has eaten well and is ready to drift off into slumber. Anna playfully inquired, "Where did you learn to cook like that?" "It was fantastic." I responded with a smile, cooking is something I truly enjoy, and I had a wonderful teacher. He once had to make do with whatever he could find, even scavenging from restaurant dumpsters, and he referred to it as a heaven-provided soup. My mother called it hobo stew. I simply use whatever ingredients I have available to create something delightful. I was pleased that she appreciated it. We settled into a comfortable silence, watching the serene lake as 2 squirrels entertained us with their playful antics. I always enjoy a little after-dinner show, I remarked, eliciting a smile from Anna. Her expression shifted as she posed a question about my past. You mentioned you are married. Can you elaborate on what you meant when you said that ended when you discovered the truth about your daughter's father? Taking a moment to compose myself, I replied, I was married to Sheila for 5 years, living in complete oblivion to the fact that she had been leading a double life. It wasn't until I received the DNA test results that the truth slowly started to unravel. The evidence showed that she was involved with someone else, and I was blindsided by the revelations. I enlisted the help of a college friend, Ken, who is now a private investigator in Washington, D.C. He uncovered the truth, providing me with photos and videos of Sheila and her lover together. It shattered my heart to learn that they had been carrying on since their college days. I could see the empathetic expression on Anna's face as she responded, "I am truly sorry. That must have been an incredibly painful experience for you. It is bewildering to think that someone could maintain two lives without fear of discovery. What she did to you is indefensible." I felt a touch of warmth beneath her words, but also acknowledged her momentary lapse into strong language. What she did should rightly come with consequences, I agreed. But I don't think I want revenge. My priority is simply the agony that accompanies the realization that someone you cherish deeply is not the person you believe them to be is a profound and troubling experience. As I looked into her eyes, I could see that she was acutely aware of the pain I had described. There was a shared understanding between us, a silent acknowledgement of the struggles that we each had faced. When I reached out and placed my hand over hers, a moment of connection took place, and she began to articulate her thoughts, starting with my name, Leo. "Leo, I feel comfortable talking to you," she expressed, her voice laced with both hesitation and sincerity. "We've only known each other for a relatively brief period, and yet I feel compelled to be open with you, just as you have been with me." As she prepared to share her story, it was evident that what she was about to disclose was deeply personal and fraught with difficulty. "Please be patient with me," she requested earnestly. "Just let me talk without worrying about me interrupting or holding back." A nod of agreement from me assured her that I would listen without judgment or interruption. With a deep breath, she began her account. "My marriage started out beautifully," she declared, reflecting on a time that now felt like a distant memory. Yet, as she continued, her tone shifted, revealing the agony that had taken root in her life. It turned into a nightmare. The earliest signs of trouble were subtle, easily dismissed in the glow of love and affection. She spoke of her husband, Logan, and the fervent desire she had to please him. Their life together was idyllic at first. However, a few months post-marriage, Logan expressed a wish to experiment, and that's when everything changed. During one fateful weekend, their intimacy took a dark turn. He became rough, leaving marks on her skin and inflicting pain that she had never anticipated. This troubling behavior escalated over subsequent weeks, transforming into spanking, slapping, and the introduction of various implements that caused her distress. The more she protested against his actions, the more it seemed to fuel his excitement. "One time," she recounted, "when I was feeling unwell, he forced me to have sex and tied me to the bed, striking me until I lost consciousness." She paused, fighting back tears, sharing that when she finally regained her senses, she found herself alone with him, unconscious and in excruciating pain, while he lay next to her, passed out from drinking. As her narrative unfolded, it became clear that Logan's drinking was a hidden truth she would later come to recognize. There was a subsequent incident that further marked the decline of her marriage. Logan returned home inebriated, his volatile temper ignited by something as trivial as dinner not being ready. In a fit of rage, he physically assaulted her, delivering a punch that left her unable to walk. The following day, he offered a hollow apology, attributing his actions to alcohol, and she, in her yearning for the former love they shared, believed him. She remained silent, enduring the torment alone. For a brief period, Logan ceased drinking, and life appeared to normalize, but this semblance of calm was short-lived. He discovered a digital camera, exploiting it to compromise her dignity by forcing her to pose undressed. When she resisted, threatening violence compelled her obedience. On another occasion, he returned home intoxicated, demanding she strip. When she refused, he used the camera as a weapon, claiming she had fallen when a neighbor knocked on the door. The threat he posed grew more horrifying. He warned her with a knife, instilling in her a paralyzing fear of disclosing her suffering to anyone. "I felt utterly trapped," she confessed, her voice trembling. As I absorbed her story, a wave of anger surged through me, directed at the man who had inflicted such suffering upon her. My heart ached for her torment. It was a stark reminder of the cruelties that exist in the world. I found myself shaking, an emotional reaction to her words, and I yearned to comfort her, to assure her that everything would eventually be all right. However, I refrained, recognizing that our bond was still developing, and instead, I chose the path of silence, processing the brutality of what I had just learned. "Leo, you all right? Please say something," she urged, concern etched on her face. My gaze locked with hers, and I managed to voice my thoughts. "My God, that's awful. I can't imagine what you felt. I'm so sorry." In response, she rose from her chair, placed her hand over mine, and gently pressed it to her cheek, offering me a smile that momentarily eased the tension within me. "Thank you," she said softly. "You don't know how much that means to me." We held hands for an extended period, sharing an unspoken bond of understanding and empathy. Ultimately, she mentioned her need to return the soup to her cabin, gently setting my hand on the armrest as she prepared to leave. "I'll see you at breakfast," she said, her voice imbued with a touch of warmth. After she departed, my mind remained occupied with thoughts of her and the brutal existence she endured under her husband's torment. Even as I sought rest, I found it difficult to drift into sleep, haunted by the new and disturbing images she had painted with her words. Eventually, exhaustion claimed me, and I succumbed to a fitful slumber. The following morning, Duke poured coffee and observed my disheveled state. "Looks like somebody had a rough night," he remarked. As I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, bloodshot eyes and slumped shoulders confirmed his assessment. "Got any aspirin?" I might take him up on it. It had been many years since I last experienced the tranquility of a fishing trip, as those memories dated back to my childhood. I offered this sentiment in an attempt to reassure her, acknowledging the potential apprehension of undertaking such an endeavor alone. "Maybe you shouldn't go alone," I suggested. "I don't know anything about fishing, but I can keep you company," she proffered, which seemed like a comforting solution. "That might be nice," I replied, and inquired, "Got any sunblock?" "I'll check with Duke," she responded. We proceeded to consume Duke's typical breakfast, which consisted of freshly cooked eggs, crisp bacon, buttered toast, refreshing orange juice, and steaming coffee. To alleviate the remnants of the previous night's excesses, I also took an aspirin. Observing her cheerful demeanor, I inquired, "You seem happy this morning. Did the old preacher's advice work?" My curiosity about the source of her uplifted mood prompted the question. "Confession is good for the soul." "Maybe it did," she replied thoughtfully. "I feel more relaxed. Maybe there is something to telling a friend your troubles. You are my friend, right?" "I did dump a lot on you yesterday," Anna stated, reflecting on our recent conversation. "Nah, it's okay," I reassured her. "I can handle it, and yes, I'm your friend," I affirmed as we departed the lodge. As we stepped outside, Duke called after us, "I'll put one of the boats in the water. Take it out whenever you want." "Thanks, Duke," I replied. Anna took my hand, and we strolled back to our cabins. Around 10 a.m., I met Anna at the dock. She looked lovely, dressed in a white long-sleeve shirt, blue jeans, tennis shoes, and a white baseball cap. Her hair was neatly tied back in a ponytail. I marveled at her beauty, especially as a radiant smile adorned her face. It had been quite some time since a beautiful woman had smiled at me, and I felt a tinge of bashfulness as I remarked, "I haven't had many beautiful women smile at me lately." I found some sunblock. "Duke has a supply cabinet with everything," she said, handing it to me. "How are you feeling now?" she asked, her concern evident. "Better. The headache is bearable. A day on the lake with you is just what I need," I replied sincerely. Her smile broadened at the compliment. It took us a few moments to get the motor started, and once we did, we navigated slowly around the lake until we found a serene spot where we could take in the scenery. From that vantage point, the lodge appeared quite diminutive against the expansive backdrop of water and sky. Duke had meticulously prepared everything for our outing, fishing poles lay ready, and there was a small box filled with bait. "Well, let's at least look like we know what we're doing," I commented, placing a dough ball onto one of the hooks and handing the rod to Anna, who carefully dropped the line over the side of the boat. I left the spoon on the other pole and cast my line into the water, noticing that Anna was observing my actions closely, mimicking my movements. "What do I do?" she asked, her grip on the rod tentative. "Just wait and be patient," I instructed. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes until Anna broke the stillness. "Leo, I didn't think about what I was doing yesterday when I told you my story. I didn't tell you everything, and I think I added my problems to yours. I'm sorry. We don't have to talk about it anymore if it hurts you, but I feel better for having told you about it. To be truthful, Anna, I began, I did dream about what you told me. I thought about how brutalized you were. I look at you now and can't imagine someone wanting to hurt you. You're so delicate and beautiful, that's monstrous." My words were fueled by a surge of protective anger. "Did you just call me beautiful?" she asked, momentarily taken aback. "Yes, you are beautiful. Any man in his right mind would see that. What I see inside you is also beautiful and quite fragile," I stated earnestly. "Thank you. I haven't been called beautiful in a long time. There are a lot of stupid people in this world. Thank you for not being one of them," Anna replied, her expression revealing her genuine appreciation. At that moment, Anna's fishing rod suddenly jerked violently. "What was that?" she exclaimed, startled. "That's a nibble. Hold onto the rod, but not too tightly." Wait and see what happens, I instructed. We resumed our quiet anticipation, focused on the rod, yet nothing significant occurred. Relax, he's gone, I reassured her. Anna shifted her gaze from the rod to me. Can I tell you something? Sure, anything, I replied. You make me feel like a princess, she confessed softly. You are a princess, I said, smiling back at her, and she returned my smile, adding, thank you. We allowed ourselves to relax, soaking in the breathtaking view. Our eyes connected, and she offered her wonderful smile once more, making me feel that the scenery had just become infinitely more beautiful. She scooted closer, gently placed her hand over mine, and rested her head on my shoulder. We remained in that peaceful position for what seemed like an eternity, simply gazing out over the sparkling lake. Suddenly, Anna's rod jerked downward again. The unmistakable excitement of a potential catch filled the air as Anna and I awaited our visitor, the fishing rod poised expectantly between us. Suddenly, the rod arched dramatically, signaling that fish was indeed on the line. Anna's expression reflected a mix of thrill and trepidation as she gripped the rod, which quivered violently with the struggle of something substantial beneath the surface. I don't know what to do, help me, Leo, she implored, her voice tinged with urgency. Just hold on tight and position the butt of the rod against your hip, I instructed, observing her flurry of movements. Now, start reeling in slowly. Following my guidance, she steadied herself, and despite the wild bucking of the rod, she began to retrieve the line with careful determination. Just then, a tremendous splash erupted a mere few feet from the boat, sending droplets cascading into the air. Holy crap, she exclaimed, her eyes wide with astonishment. Keep reeling. I'll grab the net. I responded swiftly, my heart racing in tandem with hers. Dipping the net into the water, I felt the resistance as I pulled up a magnificent lake trout, glistening and vibrant. Look at what you caught. He's a beauty, I declared proudly, holding the fish aloft for her to admire. Anna's face lit up with sheer awe as she took in the sight of her first significant catch. I know what we're having for dinner tonight, she declared joyfully. You called your soup heaven, well, heaven just provided dinner. I carefully placed the fish into the cooler, envisioning the reactions of our companions. Wait until Duke sees this, he'll keel over, I remarked, amused. Overcome with excitement, Anna spontaneously leapt up and enveloped me in her arms, nearly rocking the boat with her exuberance. Whoa, sit down. We don't want to go swimming just yet, I chuckled, gently urging her back onto her seat. Sorry, it's just that I've never caught a fish before, she confessed, her cheeks flushed with delight. Let's see if any of his relatives are lurking below, I suggested playfully as I prepared to cast the line again. I deftly attached fresh bait and let the hook sink into the depths, settling down beside her. As I wrapped an arm around her shoulder, she leaned her head upon me, a smile gracing her lips. Thank you, she murmured softly. For what? I inquired, looking down into her earnest eyes. For making me feel happy again, she replied, holding tightly to me. We lingered in this moment of quietude, the tranquil lake surrounding us as nature enveloped us in its embrace. I could almost hear the rhythm of her heartbeat as I kissed the top of her head, resting my cheek against her hair. At that moment, both of us experienced a rare tranquility that had eluded us for quite some time. Our serene interlude was abruptly interrupted when Duke bellowed, Holy Mother of God! Where did you get that? His booming voice broke the silence as I revealed the trout from the cooler. I've been looking for him for years. Well, the little lady snagged him, I grinned, proud of her accomplishment. Anna, still shocked, added modestly, I had no idea what I was doing, Leo just coached me after he was hooked. Duke's eyes widened with excitement. Did I do okay, little lady? That's a record trout for this lake. I'll bet he weighs 40 pounds or more. We must take pictures before we fillet him. With this, he motioned for us to head to the lodge, and the three of us walked, animatedly discussing the catch, smiles brightening our faces. Upon reaching the lodge, Duke quickly grabbed his camera and began capturing images of Anna alongside her impressive prize. We reviewed each snapshot, laughter filling the air as we celebrated her achievement. Yes sir, you two are eating well tonight. I'll prepare him, be here at 6 for dinner, my treat, Duke announced enthusiastically. Holding hands, Anna and I strolled back to our cabins, our previous worries momentarily forgotten as the joy of the lake trout buoyed our spirits. When we arrived at my cabin, I turned Anna towards me, placing my hands gently around her waist. The majestic mountains loomed in the background as I drew her close, planting a soft kiss upon her lips. However, her reaction startled me, she pulled back, visibly shaken. Leo, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't, she stammered, her voice tinged with apprehension. Hey, calm down. What's wrong? I queried gently, lifting her chin to meet my gaze. I'm sorry. Your touch brought back awful memories of Logan. He hurt me more than I realized, she confessed, her voice trembling with the weight of her past. I know you wouldn't, but it's just... Shush, I understand. I shouldn't have pushed you, I reassured her softly. It's not you, it's me. When you kissed me, it triggered memories of Logan's misuse. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she explained her turmoil. That's okay, I'm here when you're ready. I won't hurt you, you know that, I reassured her, hoping to ease her distress. I know. Please just hold me, she pleaded, and we settled into an embrace that felt like a sanctuary. We stood wrapped in each other's arms until her trembling gradually subsided. With time, her breathing slowed, and she seemed to regain her composure. As we separated, a soft smile graced both our faces, our eyes locking in a silent conversation. In that fleeting moment, the sweetness of our first kiss hung in the air, a moment unparalleled in its tenderness and fraught with unspoken anticipation. There's nothing like a first kiss, I remarked, feeling the warmth of our shared experience. She returned my gaze with a knowing smile and replied, nothing will ever be more tender or full of expectation, except perhaps the second kiss. With that, we leaned into each other once more, our lips meeting again in a kiss that lingered, deepened a symphony of intimacy that seemed to dissolve the outside world. The lightness of our playful exchange was soon interrupted by a light tapping sound. Tap tap tap, hello, anyone home? I called out, infusing a playful tone into the query. Hello yourself. Come on in, I'm almost ready. Anna's voice floated from the bathroom, her tone filled with a delightful anticipation. I stepped into the cabin, watching her as she delicately finished applying her makeup. You are beautiful, I commented sincerely, admiring the way she carried herself in her pretty yellow print top paired with a black skirt and sandals. Her hair was styled in a side ponytail, lending her an air of effortless charm. She turned, extending her hands toward me in a theatrical gesture. Now I'm beautiful. Let's go eat, I'm starved. The urgency in her voice was apparent, but I wasn't ready to concede just yet. Not just yet, I replied, a teasing smile crossing my face. Not until I've messed up some of that makeup. I leaned in to kiss her, but she evaded my advance with a playful glint in her eye. No, not now, later. First we eat, she insisted, taking my hand in hers and leading me out of the cabin and down the hill. As we walked towards the lodge, Anna took a moment to compliment me. You look nice. Who thought to bring a blazer to a fishing lodge, she said, her laughter a melody that danced in the cool mountain air. She placed a kiss on my hand before intertwining her fingers with mine, a simple yet profound connection. Upon entering the dining room, Duke, the ever-polite server, welcomed us with a grand flourish. Right this way to your table, he said, bowing with an air of formality that seemed to suit the rustic charm of the lodge. I pulled out Anna's chair, and she gracefully sat down. Duke draped a white napkin over her lap and mine, and soon disappeared into the kitchen, leaving us in an intimate bubble of conversation. Breaking the silence, Anna remarked, I love Duke, he's such a gentleman. I bet he was quite the ladies' man in his younger days. His wife must have been so happy. Moments later, Duke returned, carrying 2 elegantly plated servings of trout and vegetables, the aroma wafting pleasantly in the air. My wife was the reason I lived after I met her, Duke shared as he placed the plates in front of us. I never looked at another woman again. She was my first and only love. We were together for 30 glorious years. Her ashes are up on the hill behind your cabins. With a gentle smile, he added, Bon appetit, and stepped away, leaving us to savor both our meal and each other's company. Dinner passed in a swift blur, our laughter and conversation punctuating each moment, creating an atmosphere of warmth and connection. At the end of our meal, Duke returned with a delightful dessert, a pear half, elegantly drizzled with rich chocolate sauce. Just leave everything here when you're done. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Good night, you too, he said, his warm smile encapsulating the evening's charm. After dessert, we remained seated, hands intertwined, gazing into one another's eyes. This has been a perfect day. Thank you for sharing it with me, Anna said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. I responded, it's not over yet. We can stay up and see if there's an aurora tonight. How about some stargazing? Her face lit up as she responded, sounds perfect. In the tranquility of the mountains, far removed from the blinding city lights, the night sky revealed its breathtaking splendor. We could clearly see the spiral arms of the Milky Way stretching across the heavens. Though the aurora did not manifest, the array of stars was nothing short of spectacular, a heavenly display that stirred a sense of wonder within us. We settled in front of my cabin, still holding hands, enveloped in the symphony of nature, the occasional hoot of an owl and the gentle chirping of crickets. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the nearby bushes, shattering the peaceful ambience. I think we've got a visitor, I observed, my voice tinged with caution. Maybe we should head inside, I suggested. Good idea, Anna replied, her nervous laugh betraying her unease. I don't want to end a perfect day by becoming a bear's dinner. We quietly rose and retreated into the cabin, shutting the door behind us. So, what do we do now? I asked, curiosity guiding my tone. Anna's eyes sparkled as she replied, I can think of something, her gaze drifting meaningfully toward the bed. Without hesitation, I gathered her into my arms and kissed her deeply. The atmosphere was charged with passion, and as we made love, time seemed to suspend around us, leaving only the echo of our heartbeats. Lying side by side, panting softly, I turned to look at her, only to. Anna observed with attentive interest as I returned from my brief excursion outside. Upon my arrival, I indicated that it was her turn for the next moment of solitude. In response, she promptly stood up and shut the door behind her, creating an intimate atmosphere within the cabin. I reclined on the bed, my thoughts consumed by her presence and the palpable tension that had developed between us, leading to a sense of arousal that was difficult to ignore. Moments later, Anna re-entered the space, her laughter echoing light-heartedly as she noticed the bedding, which bulged from our previous activities. She leaped into the bed beside me, enveloping me in a warm embrace. We lay together in silence, listening to the soothing sound of rain pattering against the roof. After a while, Anna broke the quietude with a candid confession. Leo, don't take this wrong, but I've got something to tell you. I think I love you. She hesitated as if gauging my reaction before continuing. I know it sounds crazy because we've only known each other a few days, yet I feel so comfortable and safe with you. Her words hung in the air, and I found myself reflecting on the weight of her admission. Wow, maybe it is crazy, I responded, but I feel the same way. I want to focus on you and not the chaos of my past. I paused for a moment, then added, Anna, I could very well envision those feelings developing into something profound, but I cannot allow myself to fully embrace the notion of loving you until I sort out my existing problems. The concern for her well-being prompted me to express, I don't want to hurt you. Your happiness is all that truly matters to me right now. Stop thinking and just hold me, Anna implored, a plea that resonated deep within me. And so, we remained intertwined, savoring the shared intimacy throughout the entire day, allowing our conversations to flow freely and allowing love to blossom between us. We made love 2 more times, our movements gentle and loving, completely absorbed in one another. The world outside faded into insignificance as we neglected to leave the cabin for sustenance, lost in our own secluded paradise. The following day, the rain finally ceased, leaving behind a landscape muddied and glistening in the light. As we made our way to breakfast, Duke greeted us. Missed you yesterday. What did you do, stay in bed and listen to the rain? He inquired with a knowing smile. I smiled back, admitting, yeah, something like that, while casting a glance at Anna. Duke noted, today is Tuesday, and the supply plane is scheduled to arrive around noon. There are no new guests expected, which means you two will be the only ones here when the others depart. If you would like anything special, just drop me a note, and I'll send it out. The plane runs on Tuesdays and Fridays, so it is wise to plan ahead. Can we get anything? Anna queried with curiosity. Anything from a grocery store, liquor store, or hardware store, Duke clarified. Other items may take longer to arrange, but you can place an order anytime. Anna smiled knowingly and took a bite of her toast. Shortly thereafter, the same float plane that had originally brought me arrived, now filled with supplies. We assisted Duke in unloading the cargo while the departing fishermen organized their luggage. Later, Duke took a moment to share insights about the lodge, recounting his experience managing the establishment for the past 20 years, navigating through isolated winters, and meticulously planning for every eventuality. He spoke of the loneliness that accompanied the passing of his wife, expressing that it was the most challenging aspect of his life. We spent the remainder of the day engaged in discussions about the majestic mountains, the serene lake, fishing, hunting, and the hardships that winter could impose. Not once did we touch upon the reasons Anna and I had come to this retreat. After dinner, Anna insisted on preparing a stew. Duke observed, I like that gal, but there is something sad about her. She seems happier since you arrived. I hope you two hit it off. She deserves happiness. I replied, Duke, I like her a lot too, but I have my own troubles. I plan to take things slowly. I promise I won't hurt her. Soon enough, Anna emerged from the kitchen, carrying a steaming pot filled with a medley of vegetables and fish. I call this my heaven-provides stew, Duke. I hope you like it, she announced cheerfully. As we sat together, we ate in relative silence, interrupted only by the occasional sound of slurping. Later that night, a soft knock on my door interrupted the calm. "Can I come in?" she whispered. A warmth spread through me as I realized that I had been thinking about her as well. "Can we combine everything and be together in one cabin?" "Duke knows and seems okay with it," she suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, you shouldn't go back tonight in case that bear is lurking. I just found you, and I don't want to lose you." Anna snuggled closer, her body pressing against mine as she entwined her arms around my neck. "Leo, if you don't want to answer this question, I completely understand," she began cautiously. "But you mentioned your wife having a lover. How could you stay with her after discovering that?" My response reflected the turmoil that had haunted me. "I don't know. I avoided her. Every time I saw her, I was reminded of what I had seen in that video. My desire was to be with Sarah, yet to be with Sarah, I felt I had to remain with that creature." I lifted my head, allowing my gaze to meet hers, those dark eyes that held a universe of emotions. "Thank you for being here," I said softly, pressing my lips against hers in a tender kiss that conveyed gratitude and solace. In that moment, I was reminded of the goodness that still existed in the world, and she epitomized that goodness for me. As our lips parted, I settled my head back onto her shoulder, seeking comfort in her presence. "Leo," she whispered, her voice a barely audible thread in the silence surrounding us. "There's more to my story that I couldn't share with you the other day. I think I'm ready now to tell you, because it might help me confront some of my inner demons." She paused, taking a deep breath to steady herself before continuing, "Like your preacher said, confession is good for the soul. Believe it or not, what I have to share is worse than what I've already told you. Can you endure it?" I nodded, resolute in my support. "Anything for you," I assured her. "But afterward, I may need to eliminate someone. Regardless, I will listen to whatever you need to say." She began her narrative, her voice trembling slightly. "This happened after what I told you previously about Logan threatening me with a knife, insisting that I comply with his demands. One day, he returned home inebriated and ordered me to dress up because he had a surprise. I changed into one of my finest dresses, feeling a mix of anxiety and apprehension, only to discover Logan engaged in conversation with a woman named Faye, who was his boss. Faye was tall, muscular, and had a gravelly voice that added to my unease. Logan had showed her the explicit pictures he had taken of me, and she expressed a desire to meet me. He instructed me to entertain her and ensure her happiness, emphasizing that failure to do so would result in punishment. Terror gripped me as she recounted the encounter. Faye commanded me to strip and dance as music played. My heart raced with dread, but I complied, unable to defy her. When the dance concluded, she began touching and kissing me without my consent. I cried out, but Logan's anger was palpable as he dragged me to the bedroom, cruelly declaring that I belonged to Faye. The ensuing events were horrific. Faye did unspeakable things to me right in front of Logan, who merely sat there, a twisted smile on his face. After Faye left, Logan forced himself upon me, revealing his sinister plans. He stated that Faye wanted to return, and in exchange, she had given him a lucrative account at work. Logan boasted that he intended to showcase my pictures to his friends and would soon be pimping me out to his co-workers and clients for money. As she spoke, I could sense the weight of her trauma overwhelming her. When I heard that, I knew I had to escape. The very next day, I ran away. Her voice trailed off, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. She stared blankly into the distance, her face contorting in anguish, tears welling up in her eyes. "Oh God, I can't go on," she sobbed, her body shaking violently as she broke down completely. Immediately, I wrapped her in my arms, holding her tightly against me, whispering words of comfort. "Everything is all right now. You are safe here with me. I will take care of you. I will love you." Her tears soaked my shoulder, a manifestation of her pain, but gradually, her sobs slowed, and she eventually succumbed to sleep in my embrace. When I awoke, the morning light filtered through the room softly. I turned to her and said, "Good morning. Did you say you loved me last night?" She stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Yes," she replied, her voice still thick with emotion. "What you told me was horrific, and you did not deserve any of it. I will ensure you never suffer like that again." With a sense of vulnerability, I confessed, "I think I have fallen in love with you." Her face brightened with joy. "God, I'm so happy. Thank you, Leo. My prayers have been answered. I love you too, but I really need to pee, and then we need breakfast," she said, pulling herself away to head toward the bathroom. I smiled at her as she left. After some time, we sat down for breakfast together, and I remarked to Duke, "You should consider hiring a full-time cook to free up more time for other tasks." I can't afford one, Duke replied. Louisa used to cook while I took care of everything else. She was a fantastic cook. Me? I make do, he added with a shrug. Anna is a great cook. Perhaps she could work for you to help pay the rent. What do you think, Anna? I suggested, looking at her eagerly. Of course, I'd love to help if that's all right with you, Duke, Anna said, her enthusiasm evident. I'll think about it. I have 8 guests arriving on the next plane, so we'll see how it goes, Duke replied thoughtfully. After breakfast, I turned to Duke and asked, how do I make a phone call? I need to let someone know where I am. All I have is the radio, he explained, pointing to the device in the corner. Yellowknife can patch you through to an operator, but it's a bit expensive. Can I use it after breakfast? I inquired. Sure, I'll show you how, Duke assured me. Anna chimed in. My mother expressed her concerns during our conversation, her voice tinged with worry. I'm fine, Mom, I assured her, even as I felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. I'm currently out of the country and cannot disclose my location. If anyone asks about my whereabouts, it is crucial that you do not fabricate a story. My curiosity was piqued, and I pressed further, what is happening back home? Her response came quickly, laden with urgency. They are searching for you, Leo. Mr. Bloom is furious following the fire at the factory. He has placed the blame squarely on you, and as a result, there is now a warrant for your arrest. The FBI has also contacted us in their inquiries. We were at a loss to respond as we did not know your location and could not provide them with any information. I have a suspicion that someone may be watching our house. Anxiety surged within me, and I urgently inquired, what did you do with the package I entrusted to you? I put it in the basement behind some jars of canned peaches, she replied. I didn't open it. What about Sarah? I pressed, needing to know the status of my daughter. Sheila came by with Sarah. She mentioned that she wanted to speak with you. Sarah is fine, but she misses you, my mother informed me. I don't wish to speak with Sheila, my primary concern is Sarah, I asserted firmly. Leo, I am aware that your divorce will soon be finalized, but could you consider speaking to Sheila? Was it truly as dreadful as you describe? Is there no possibility for reconciliation, particularly for Sarah's sake, my mother implored, her tone softening as she voiced her desire for familial harmony. Mom, Sheila was involved in an affair for the entirety of our marriage. There are further details, but I do not wish to hurt Sarah by revealing them. Perhaps in the future I might be able to fathom discussing it, but not at this moment, I explained, striving to maintain my composure. Very well. I trust your judgment, she replied, her voice softer now. Mom, I've met someone here, I continued, hoping to share my newfound happiness. Her name is Anna, and she is also escaping a troubling situation. I hope you and Dad can eventually meet her, but I cannot return home just yet. I will find a way, I am not as despondent as I once was. In fact, I find joy in my relationship with Anna. I wanted you to be aware of that. Oh, Leo, I am genuinely thrilled for you. You deserve to find happiness. Please call us with your plans when you can. I love you, son, she said, her voice filled with relief. I love you too, Mom. Goodbye. As I ended the call, a sense of dread washed over me. What was I to do now that the FBI was searching for me? I had done nothing wrong, yet Bloom had the authorities convinced that I was responsible for the fire at his factory. My thoughts shifted to Sarah, and then to Anna. I could not engage in any actions that would jeopardize her safety, she had her own struggles to confront. How could I successfully distance myself from Sheila's father and cultivate a future with Anna, free from the shadows of my past? The complexity of my circumstances weighed heavily on me, leaving me feeling overwhelmed. The following day, a float plane arrived, delivering a group of 8 men clad in expensive attire, accompanied by an assortment of fishing gear. Duke, our gracious host, extended a warm welcome. Welcome back, gentlemen. It's wonderful to see you again. This marks your 9th year, am I right? Everything remains unchanged except for the fishing, it's even better this time. You should have witnessed the monster we caught yesterday. The group's luggage was transported to the lodge, and that afternoon, the men set out on the water to fish. Duke enlisted Anna's assistance in the kitchen as he prepared dinner. She efficiently handled the fish they had caught, pairing it with steamed vegetables, while Duke took charge of the salads and bread, following her guidance. For dessert, Anna created a delightful cranberry crisp. The new guests thoroughly enjoyed the meal and expressed their desire to meet the chef. Anna graciously entered the dining room, and from my vantage point at another table, I observed a man rise to speak. "Madam," he began, "we wish to commend you on dinner. Everything was absolutely delightful. I own a chain of restaurants, and none of our chefs could rival the quality of what we just savored. If you ever have thoughts of leaving here, I would like to extend a standing invitation for you to work for me." "Thank you very much. I will certainly keep your offer in mind. I will see what surprises I can create for breakfast," Anna replied with a smile, her spirits visibly lifted by the praise. After her response, Anna made her way back to my table, radiating enthusiasm. The restaurant owner subsequently approached us and addressed me. "Sir, you must feel an immense pride for your wife. She is an extraordinary cook. I am sincere about my offer. Indeed, I am proud of her, but we are not married. We met here as we are both seeking refuge from troubling situations in our respective pasts," Duke clarified gently. "I regret to hear that. Where do you hail from?" the man inquired of Anna. "I'm from Plano, Texas," she replied. "I'm from Henley, Pennsylvania," I added, only to be interrupted by another patron at the table. "I know people in Henley." "What's your name?" he asked. "Leo Baker," I responded. That name. I was previously married to the daughter of a man named Ezekiel Bloom. It was a connection that had significant implications for my life. One afternoon, as I sat at a table in a restaurant, the man himself approached us. He recognized me and stated, "You're Ezekiel Bloom's son-in-law." I confirmed this, albeit with a feeling of discomfort. However, my recent divorce from his daughter had made me reflect on the relationship, and I had to admit that I felt relief at no longer being part of that family. As I explained my situation to the restaurant owner, who appeared intrigued by my story, I detailed the circumstances that led to my divorce. In essence, my wife had been unfaithful to me. After gathering the strength to file for divorce, I learned how ruthless Ezekiel Bloom could be. He ensured that I walked away from that marriage with nothing to my name, no financial support, no job opportunities, and no contact with my daughter. It was a painful chapter in my life, one that pushed me to relocate to this new place in search of solace. It was here that I met Anna, who became a source of comfort during this tumultuous time. At that point in my narrative, another man joined our table. He had overheard my mention of Bloom. "Did I hear someone mention Bloom Enterprises?" he inquired. I confirmed that I was indeed familiar with the name, and he proceeded to reveal his own background. He worked for the Justice Department in the racketeering section and disclosed that they were currently investigating Bloom for various legal violations. His interest in my story piqued, and he expressed a desire to discuss the matter further in a more private setting. As the conversation progressed, I learned that this man was not alone in his disdain for Bloom's influence. He shared his own experiences, making it clear that Bloom had an extraordinarily strong hold over the town's political and legal structures. "Bloom basically owns everything, including the judge who presided over my divorce hearings," he stated. I could relate intimately to his frustration, having recently faced a similar ordeal. Just before my departure, one of Bloom's factories had mysteriously caught fire, and I found myself being implicated as the main suspect. I firmly believed there was a connection between Bloom and this incident. An additional voice emerged from our gathering. A fourth man, who identified himself as a lawyer, expressed his eagerness to understand more about the purported ownership of the judge. I recalled how, during my divorce proceedings, I had presented a video of my wife in a compromising situation with her lover. To my dismay, the judge dismissed the evidence and even threatened me with imprisonment if I dared to share it with anyone else. The lawyer listened attentively and indicated familiarity with the judge in question, expressing disillusionment with his track record and offering to assist me in seeking justice. The conversation began to take a more collaborative turn. The manufacturing man voiced his willingness to support any initiatives that could counteract Bloom's dominance. Just then, a fifth man joined us, suggesting that a coordinated effort reminiscent of military strategies might be necessary to tackle this powerful adversary. He mentioned his background in the military, having served in Afghanistan, and expressed his readiness to contribute to our cause. I acknowledged his sentiments with appreciation and proposed that we move our discussion to the porch, where we could enjoy drinks while brainstorming our strategy. At that moment, Anna interjected, indicating her intention to leave the group. She thanked everyone for the lively discussion and stated her plans to return to the cabin, asking me to wake her upon my return to share our strategic plans. I watched as Duke escorted her back, expressing gratitude for her positive influence on the group and requesting her assistance with breakfast. Once they were out of sight, the remaining men and I began to outline potential plans. When I finally returned to the cabin later, I found Anna peacefully asleep. I hesitated to disturb her and instead slipped into bed beside her, appreciating the tranquility of the moment. That night, the aurora borealis illuminated the sky above, casting a beautiful glow, but we remained nestled in each other's arms, completely oblivious to the world outside. The following morning, after breakfast, Anna and I sat on the dock, allowing the serene environment to foster our conversation. Before elaborating on the discussions from the previous night, I posed a crucial question to her: what do you wish to do regarding your husband? I expressed my concern for her safety, emphasizing that I feared for her well-being should she return to him. She responded with a sigh, indicating her contemplation of divorce but also revealing her apprehension about the repercussions, as he was exceedingly possessive. I've considered staying hidden, hoping he would eventually move on, she stated. I inquired about my previous conversations with the men gathered the night before. I explained that my desire was not fueled by a thirst for revenge but a pursuit of justice. I had garnered support from influential individuals, one being the CEO of a large computer company, while the lawyer was connected to a seasoned divorce attorney in Dallas. The retired colonel and a member of the Army Special Forces were prepared to orchestrate our approach. We only need to remain patient until they finalize their plans, I assured her, hoping to alleviate her concerns. Anna's eyes lit up at the mention of these resources. Do you believe they can assist me? She asked, her voice tinged with hope. I confirmed that the lawyer indeed knew a well-regarded divorce attorney who had a reputation for being relentless. Everything should align perfectly by the time we return. It will only require you to attend one meeting to finalize the paperwork, and the Army Major will ensure that Logan signs the necessary documents, I reassured her. Everything will turn out all right. She seemed incredulous, questioning why a group of seemingly random individuals would choose to assist her, Amir. Something I was already aware of settled comfortably in my mind as Anna flashed a radiant smile. We found ourselves seated on the dock, our hands intertwined, lost in contemplation about the future that awaited us. Just 5 days later, the scene shifted as we assisted the local fisherman in loading his float plane, each of us playing our part to ensure the journey began smoothly. In a show of gratitude, I expressed my thanks to each man involved, while Anna, with her warm nature, leaned in and kissed each one on the cheek, including even the shy computer technician who stood quietly to the side. The owner of the nearby restaurant took a moment to hand Anna his business card, a subtle reminder of the job offer he had extended, urging her to reach out as soon as they departed. After the men had left, Duke ambled back toward the lodge, leaving Anna and me free to take a boat out on the serene surface of the lake. The tranquility of the moment provided the ideal backdrop for a crucial conversation. Anna turned to me with a furrowed brow and asked when we could expect the changes in our lives to unfold. Her concern about leaving Duke without a cook was evident in her voice. I reassured her that the timeline seemed feasible, suggesting it would likely take 2 to 3 weeks if everything proceeded as planned. I explained that she would soon be able to return here, and I could arrange for her to visit her mother and sister if she wished to do so. Anna nodded, revealing her impatience to move past the current obstacles so that we could finally be together. I assured her of my intentions, sharing that once I had resolved the remnants of my old life, I envisioned starting anew with her. As Anna nestled closer, resting her head on my shoulder, we relished in the warmth of our shared presence. 3 weeks later, we found ourselves sitting on the porch of our cabin at sundown, engaged in a deeply meaningful discussion about the impending journey home we would begin the following day. The tension that hung in the air was palpable, as both of us felt an undercurrent of anxiety about what awaited us. Despite our meticulous planning, we remained acutely aware that unforeseen circumstances could arise at any moment. However, amidst the uncertainty, I clung to a sense of hope. Anna, sensing my internal conflict, implored me, "Leo, hold me. I'm so scared. If I were not in your arms right now, I might find myself back in that dark place, tied to a bed and used by others. The thought terrifies me." I gently hushed her fears, assuring her that she was safe now and would always be safe with me. My commitment to protect her was unwavering. As we sat together, embracing under the fading light, I stroked her cheek, noticing a single tear escape and roll down her face. Her breathing gradually became more relaxed, a testament to the comfort she found in my presence. As we continued to share our vulnerabilities, I felt compelled to reveal my own final struggle. Anna, since you have shared your entire story with me, I feel it is important for me to disclose the last demon that haunts me. This is as challenging for me as it was for you. I began recounting the moment I learned that my daughter was not biologically mine, a truth that ignited a furious rage within me. My desire for retribution against Sheila and her lover at that moment was overwhelming. I had gone in search of Sheila, only to uncover her with her lover, the shocking revelation being that it was her father, Ezekiel Bloom, with whom she had been entangled even before our marriage. The photographs and recordings I had gathered confirmed the painful truth: Sarah was his daughter. I recognized the potential harm this knowledge could inflict on her and vowed to do anything in my power to protect her. "Oh my God, Leo, that's unbelievable," Anna responded in stunned disbelief. "How could she?" I am speechless. I find myself wanting to confront her for the pain she has caused you. My heart aches for your daughter. I reflected on how I had believed that divorcing Sheila would resolve everything, only to find that its aftermath was far more complex and troubling. My retreat to this place was meant to be an escape, but instead, I found Anna, and with her, the possibility of a hopeful future. Once we closed the door on our pasts, I promised her, we will be together, if you want me. Oh Leo, of course I want you, she replied, her sincerity piercing through the weight of our circumstances. You make me feel like a princess. We acknowledged the months ahead might pose challenges, yet we were resolute in our commitment to each other, confident that our love would guide us through. As the evening deepened, I expressed a desire for intimacy before our journeys took us apart yet again. I want to make love with you one more time before we go, I declared. I love you so much. We shared a tender kiss in the dimming light, and as we entered the cabin, a sense of urgency enveloped us. The physical connection we shared was profound, and afterward, as Anna gazed into my eyes, she whispered, God, that was fantastic. We held one another closely, Anna resting against my chest as we drifted into a peaceful sleep, comforted by the embrace we had created. Duke reassured me that Anna would return within a week at most, while I anticipated a longer absence. I understood the lake would freeze over in time, making flights impossible, but I resolved to return before that happened. I sought his reassurance in caring for my cherished chef, and Duke, with his steady demeanor, assured me, don't worry about me. I've been here for 20 years before you arrived, and I'll remain for 20 more after you leave. Anna had expressed to me that she wanted to recount her experiences directly, despite everything I had already learned from Alan. For the next half hour, Anna shared her story in detail, her voice reflecting both the weight of her struggles and the strength she had gained through them. Jane listened attentively, her expression shifting from concern to determination as Anna spoke. It's worse than I had initially thought, Jane finally remarked, her tone resolute. But do not worry, we will put an end to it. You will secure your divorce, and you will receive everything you desire from this situation. I have complete confidence that we can make this happen. She finalized the discussion by suggesting they proceed with signing the necessary papers. Once Anna completed the paperwork, we began our drive to her sister's residence. It was during this journey that Anna's emotional facade began to crumble, and she broke down in tears. I found myself uncertain as to whether her tears stemmed from sorrow over her past or joy at the prospect of a new beginning. The tears flowed freely until we reached the interstate. After a moment, she wiped her eyes, blew her nose, and gently placed her hand atop mine. I keep saying thank you, don't I? She asked, her voice laced with a mixture of relief and anticipation. I can't wait until this is all over, she continued, her gaze focused on the blurred countryside outside the window. Upon our arrival at her sister's house, Anna underwent a remarkable transformation. She filled the space with laughter as she engaged playfully with her nieces and nephews, and her spirit soared as she ran around with their large dog. Witnessing this remarkable change in her demeanor deepened my affection for her. She appeared to be not only embracing her newfound freedom but also rediscovering herself in the process. Later in the evening, Anna's mother arrived, and the three women gathered for a private discussion while the men exchanged pleasantries in the backyard over cold beers. When the women returned, their expressions were serious. Anna's sister took the initiative to prepare dinner, while her mother led me to a quieter corner for a conversation. Mr. Baker, she began with a tone that demanded my full attention. Anna has confided in us about the things her husband has done, as well as your situation. She expressed that you have your own challenges to overcome before considering a relationship with her. However, she also made it clear that she loves you and feels safe with you. The weight of her words hung heavily in the air. If you ever hurt her like her ex did, I will hunt you down and eliminate you. But if you treat her well, you'll earn a slice of my famous 16-layer cake every Christmas. You must take care of my little girl, she deserves the best. I stood momentarily stunned by the intensity of her declaration, managing only a stammered, yes, in response. She kissed my forehead, smiled with warmth, and guided me back to my seat. In the days that followed, we remained at Anna's sister's house, retreating to a nearby motel each night. Contrary to Anna's belief, we found ample time to be intimate while we awaited updates from her attorney. Our connection deepened over those shared moments. 5 days later, Anna received the long-anticipated call. Hi Anna, this is Jane, her attorney began. Everything is finalized. Your husband has signed the papers. Once the court processes them, the divorce will be official within 3 to 6 months. Until then, although you are still legally married, you are free to do as you please, with the exception of remarriage. Your husband was persuaded to sign by a contact from the army. I'm not sure who your friends are, but I might want to borrow them at some point. Take care and enjoy your new life. With Anna's abusive marriage finally in the rearview mirror, we celebrated the moment with ice cream, creating joyful memories together. At the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, we held each other, savoring the bittersweet moment of parting. Anna departed for one terminal while I was assigned to another. "I'll call Duke and leave a message once I reach my parents' house," I assured her. "I'll follow up with good news." "Take care, I love you," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I love you too," I echoed, feeling the weight of our shared journey. We reluctantly parted, our fingertips the last to connect. The drive to my parents' house from Harrisburg Airport took approximately 2 hours, and I timed my arrival for dusk. After parking a short distance away, I walked through the woods leading to the back door. "Who's out back knocking on that door?" my father called out. "It's me, Dad." "Leo?" "Damn. Mom, it's Leo. Come on in before someone sees you." The warmth of family enveloped me, and I greeted my mother with a cheerful, "Hi, Mom." "We need to talk about what's going to happen," I indicated. "Let's sit in the living room. First, I just want to put my feet up and relax." That evening was spent discussing everything with my parents. If all unfolded according to the plan, my relationship with Anna would advance significantly within the week. They found humor in the audacity of the scheme and speculated on the repercussions for those who had wronged us. A sense of camaraderie filled the room, and I felt ready to confront whatever lay ahead. I also called Duke and Anna, leaving messages to confirm my safe arrival and to reassure them that all was well. Early the following morning, I was awakened by the sound of the newspaper landing in the driveway. I stepped outside in my shorts and robe to retrieve it, stretching my limbs luxuriously. Well, the sensation of wearing handcuffs turned out to be less painful than I had initially anticipated. Although I was required to travel to the police station with my hands restrained behind my back, the discomfort was minimal. Upon arrival, I underwent a series of procedures that included having my photograph taken, being fingerprinted, and ultimately being placed in a solitary cell. At that point, my only option was to wait passively for what would happen next. Within a span of just 1 hour, Mr. Bloom made his dramatic entrance into the station, vocally demanding to see me. I could distinctly hear his voice echoing through the confines of my cell even before he arrived. When he finally stood before me, his expression was one of fury, his steely grey eyes glaring menacingly. His words were filled with barely contained rage as he berated me, threatening, "Boy, I am going to burn you up. You have the audacity to set fire to my factory and then return as if nothing had happened. I will ensure that you never see the light of day again. Say goodbye to your little girl, she will forget you ever existed." I listened to his tirade, my attention fixated on the noticeable vein pulsing violently on his forehead, a source of dark amusement for me even in my predicament. Before I could utter a single word in response, a frantic-looking deputy burst into the room and urgently called Mr. Bloom back to the office. I settled back down in my cell, listening intently to the chaos that ensued outside. The sounds of yelling and screaming filled the air, and after what felt like an eternity, someone finally shouted, "Go get him." The same wide-eyed deputy returned, unlocking my cell and instructing me to follow him to the office. Inside, I encountered Alan, the lawyer I had met previously at Duke's place, standing there with a glare directed towards Mr. Bloom, who appeared even more flushed than before. Alan addressed me with concern, asking, "Mr. Baker, you all right? Have they treated you well?" I responded simply, "I'm okay, just a little confused about why I'm here." Alan replied reassuringly, "We are about to clear that up." He made a phone call, and shortly thereafter, announced, "We're ready now." Moments later, a tall man entered the room, dressed in a suit, accompanied by 2 state police officers. The suited man approached Mr. Bloom and asked, "Mr. Ezekiel Bloom?" To which Bloom, clearly irritated, replied, "Yes, what do you want?" The man continued, "Sir, I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of tampering with government officials, racketeering, and money laundering. Additionally, I possess a cease and desist order for Bloom Enterprises until a federal grand jury convenes." He then handed Bloom a manila envelope and added, "Furthermore, here is a lawsuit filed by Leo Baker for wrongful termination, along with another warrant for your arrest on the charge of incest involving Sheila Baker, your daughter. A warrant is currently being served on her." The situation escalated as the man turned towards the deputy sheriff and handed him yet another envelope. This document serves as a lawsuit against the town of Henley for wrongful imprisonment. I had to suppress my smile as I absorbed the unfolding drama. The deputy then handed me an envelope and stated, "Mr. Baker, here is a court order quashing all charges against you until the fire marshal's report is reviewed. A hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. to evaluate your divorce decree, as the previous judge is currently under investigation." Alan maintained his unwavering gaze on Mr. Bloom, whose demeanor had deteriorated, now appearing particularly despondent. "Leo, let him go, you're a free man," Alan declared emphatically. We exited through the front door, and as we made our way to his car, Alan smiled and drove me towards my parents' house. When we arrived, he turned to me and shook my hand, offering a warm, "Good luck, Leo. I will see you at the hearing. This is a little present from your fishing buddies. I believe things will be quieter around here for you. I love small towns." With a warm good night, he nodded and drove away. My parents were waiting for me at the curb when I arrived. "How did it go, son?" my father inquired. "Better than I could have imagined," I replied, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. "Let's go eat, I'm starved." The feeling of hunger was overwhelming, juxtaposed against the earlier stress of the day. The divorce review hearing proved to be markedly different from my previous experiences. Sheila appeared with only one attorney, presenting an air of tension. The new judge seemed concerned, but with Alan by my side, a glimmer of hope began to take hold. The review lasted nearly 4 hours, during which time evidence of Sheila's infidelity and incest was introduced and subsequently accepted by the court. As a result, the judge declared her unfit to be a mother, overturning the previous child support obligations and awarding me primary physical custody. In addition, I was now entitled to receive child support, while the house was awarded to her, and the original income split remained unchanged. Although I left the courtroom without financial stability, the prospect of having Sarah in my life brought a sense of fulfillment. During the hearing, Sheila remained eerily silent, often staring blankly at her hands. Her attorney spoke on her behalf when necessary, but she refrained from engaging, appearing disheveled and defeated. After the proceedings concluded, I requested a private moment to speak with Sheila. "Sheila," I began, "this is not about revenge. I simply wanted a divorce and to distance myself from you as much as possible. The pain inflicted upon me by both you and my father is far deeper than you will ever comprehend. When he attempted to maneuver me into a corner, to manipulate my circumstances, it ignited a fury within me. The subsequent events that unfolded are a direct consequence of your actions. Throughout my life, he consistently achieved his desires, but this time, I stood resolute against his intimidation. He endeavored to separate me from Sarah, an act that came perilously close to dismantling my very being. It was only through the steadfast support of a compassionate woman, one who possesses integrity and a moral compass, qualities that you distinctly lack, that I managed to navigate through these turbulent waters. My affection for her is profound, and I have no intention of permitting you to encroach upon Sarah's life again. Should it be necessary, I am prepared to pursue a restraining order to ensure that distance is maintained between you and her. Your actions have consequences. I vow to pay my respects in a manner that reinforces my disdain for you. Do you comprehend the gravity of my words?" Sheila's response was a mere nod, her gaze fixed on the ground, betraying her inability to confront the truth of the matter. As I exited the hearing room, I felt a surge of happiness, the likes of which I had not experienced in quite some time, with thoughts of Anna and Sarah illuminating my mind. That evening, the decision to incinerate the DNA test results in my parents' backyard felt cathartic. The truth concerning Sarah's biological father remained known only to one person, Anna, to whom I confided 2 months earlier. It was on a similar day, 2 months prior, that I had arrived at this serene little lake via floatplane, and now, I was accompanied by Sarah, who delighted in the experience as we made our approach to the dock. Upon our arrival, Anna stood there, as radiant as ever. I carried Sarah off the plane, and Anna's smile radiated a joy that matched the vastness of the lake. She greeted me with a kiss that welcomed me home, while Sarah babbled happily in my arms. The comfort of being back was palpable. However, Anna then shared distressing news. Duke had suffered a stroke, resulting in the loss of mobility in his right hand and a gait reminiscent of John Wayne. While she reassured me that he would recover in time, she expressed that he would require assistance in managing the lodge. Without hesitation, I declared my commitment to stay. The feeling of returning home transcended beyond my love for Anna. It encompassed the profound connection I felt to this place. I vowed to remain with her eternally, to offer our support to Duke, and to raise our little girl together. Anna's response was heartfelt. She expressed how much she had missed me and how her love for me endured through the years. It is now 5 years since I first arrived at Duke's Lodge, and the memories of that time are intertwined with my development and the life I have built here. Anna and I married the spring following our initial winter together, and Sarah has thrived in this environment, particularly enjoying her time with Duke, her beloved teddy bear. We welcomed twin brothers, named Duke and Wayne, into our family, who are now 3 years old and full of spirited energy. Anna exemplifies the qualities of an extraordinary mother, and I am grateful each day for the life we have crafted together. With another child on the way, set to arrive in 3 months, we are contemplating the name Louisa. The lodge has undergone significant transformations since those early days. The main house has been expanded, new cabins have been constructed, and stone walkways have been meticulously laid out. The dock has been widened, showcasing an array of native artworks that reflect our commitment to honoring the local culture. Duke played an instrumental role in overseeing these enhancements, which were funded by settlements stemming from lawsuits against Bloom and Henley. Anna has taken great pleasure in her new gourmet kitchen, a gift from an anonymous benefactor who owns a restaurant. Our facility has been upgraded with satellite communications and solar power, thanks to the generosity of various supporters. Consequently, the lodge enjoys year-round occupancy with a waiting list for the most sought-after dates, thereby fulfilling the promises made on our website. When my parents came to visit following the birth of the twins, they informed me that Sheila has retreated into seclusion and no longer associates with her father, who remains on probation for his involvement in racketeering. Their lives are of no consequence to me. Duke passed away a year ago, leaving all of his belongings to Anna and me. We interred his ashes alongside Louis beneath the park bench on the hill, a solemn yet fitting tribute. We frequent the site, paying our respects, for we miss the old buzzard dearly. However, his spirit continues to reside within the walls of the lodge, a testament to the legacy he left behind.